is broken, but still broken.
Yeah, sorry. This isn't the one. I think maybe a lot of people, I was thinking, well, maybe this will be the one that finally does a good, decent Disney live action remake, right? Because it's based on a story that's not that old and it isn't a fairy tale, so it's not going to be taken, it's not like they have to take it literally. This is already a story that's kind of taken literally. You know, it's supposed to take place in modern day and everything. And this is not the worst, though it does have one of the worst. I'll just go. It has the worst something in it I've seen in any of the Disney live action remakes, and I will get to that in a bit. But no, I sadly did not care for this movie. I do think there's probably an audience out there that'll see it, kind of think nothing of it. All right, whatever, some good things in it, and then just forget about it. This movie seems designed to be forgotten. And that is a shame, because I should talk about what I think of the original Lilo and Stitch. I do really enjoy it. It is one of those movies where I enjoy the stuff with the sisters the most. I think that's the strength of the movie, and the stuff with the aliens is fine. But if you were to take out the stuff with the aliens, the movie would still be good. Like, the stuff with the sisters would still be solid. Just this idea of these parents pass away and an older sister has to look after her younger sister, has to essentially be the mother, and it's very, very difficult to do. That is interesting. Where the stuff with the aliens, if you took out the stuff with the sisters, would be like passable at best. Like I said, they're not bad. They're just very kind of generic aliens, but they're fine. They get a few laughs and everything. So on that level, I really, really enjoyed it. I think the stuff with the sisters is really, really well done. So I knew going into this, the big thing was the sisters, particularly Lilo, had to be handled very, very well. And I did have some concern going into it because there wasn't that much footage of Lilo in the advertisements. They mostly showed Stitch, which makes sense. I mean, he's the marketable, but he's what you put on all the hats and everything. But I did have some concern about maybe, you know, the kid's pretty young. Is she not going to be a good actress? And I will say, I'll go with the good things first. The acting is good in this. All the actors hit their marks accordingly. The sisters particularly are very, very good. They do a few things different with her. Like in the animated film, you definitely got the impression she is a troubled kid. She's very likable, but she's a brat, and they very clearly show why she is this way. And you get this sense of depression, of sadness, of grief, with no direction, aligned with it, about how to deal with it. Because again, the person looking after her is also dealing with this grief while also having to deal with a million other things. That's not as prevalent here. Here, she seems more quirky and eccentric. They seem to really want to focus on just the lighthearted, cute elements of the character, which, the character is cute, but I think that bite that they gave her, a literal bite, sometimes she would bite people in the original, did go a long way, but she's not bad here. And the same thing with the sister. You can tell they're really putting their all into this. The comic relief, let's call them what they are, with, was it Jumba and Pleakley, something like that. Again, I don't remember the aliens that great. Are good too. They're mostly done as human actors, which I think was smart. Again, in this world, you can't really have these aliens just wear, like Ninja Turtles, wear the fedora hats and fool everybody. So I think it was smart. They have a thing where they turn into humans, and Zach Galifianakis plays one of them. He does a pretty good job. Let me see if I can find the name of the other guy who plays Billy Magnussen, I think is how you say it. He's good, certainly, and they both do their jobs well. Even though Zach Galifianakis' character was it Jumba, I think is his name. Here, hold on, it's blocked here. Jumba. The design of him, because everybody's like, "Did you see the design of Jumba?" And I've only seen little pictures here and there. I didn't do that much research. I'm like, well, yeah, it looks like the character, whatever. And then I saw it on the big screen. His nose is a dick. It's just a dick. And I'm just trying to get over this mindset of we have to go back and reanimate a whole scene in the original movie where Lilo climbs in a dryer and change it to like a pizza box. But you can just show kids a dick on an alien's nose for an hour and a half. I don't follow that. There is is no other thing you can see this as. You certainly don't see it as a nose, but whatever. You just move past that nothing but trouble scene that isn't just a clip in a movie. It takes over a whole entire character's face, and they're totally fine. Some of the other casting in this is very interesting in that they bring back some actors from the original film, which is very nice to see, but it is odd because like Tia Carrere plays the social worker, and when you see her go up to Nani, the older sister, it's weird seeing Nani talk to Nani. It's very surreal. I think they also have, what's his name? The original voice actor of David in here. I think he has a smaller role, but he's in there. And some of the changes they make, I just to give you an idea, I'm not going into this like, well, they changed this, so it must be bad. No, there's some changes I'm really not against. Like they took out, what's his name? I just had my name. The shark dude. Well, I'm looking at the live action list here, so it's not gonna be right. Gaku, is that his name? Sorry, it's important because people be feeling the comments like, no, this is his name, so I gotta get the name right. But he was the shark guy who was chasing him down originally, and he wasn't done poorly at all in the original. He was just a character that I feel like wasn't needed, and I am weirdly not seeing him here. Hold on. Lilo Stitch. I think it's something like Gaku, something like that. I'll find it, because like I said, Gantu, that's his name. So he's not in this, and in like the show, I had to watch the show for Disney December. In something like that, he's more needed because that's like a more adventure style show. There's clear bad guys in that. And in the original movie, he's not a bad character, but he's definitely not necessary. In this, they sort of more combine him with the Jumba character. They make him, he's originally an evil mastermind, so it's like, okay, it kind of makes sense, but I don't know if you call him the straight up villain in this. He's more just doing kind of what that type of character would do. I like more the conclusion they come to in the original, but again, it's not a big deal. Without going to spoilers, they play around a little bit with the ending with Nani, and there's an idea in there, and it ties into what she really wanted to do before the parents pass away. Which, by the way, they never say how they pass away. They just say they're gone. We have no idea. Again, they're just saying, oh, the original movie, so who cares? Thanks for that. Thanks for respecting our intelligence, I guess. But they have them just out of the picture, and Nani wants to be a marine biologist. Now, they only say that because in no way at all throughout the entire movie does she ever bring up or utilize or anything like that she's interested in marine biology. She doesn't name any fish. She doesn't talk about the way the water is or anything. I mean, nothing like that. So they tie in a little bit of the ending of this character to that. Like, that's her passion. That's her love. But then it's also surfing, because she actually does that and talks more about that than marine biology. And when she's looking for a job, the David character says, oh, well, why don't you, if you're going to get a job, why not get in something that you love? And she's teaching people how to surf. And I'm like, I thought marine biology was what she loved and everything. So it's this weird thing where they're kind of combining a lot of stuff that sometimes doesn't work, but there's a seed of an idea in there. There's something in there. So there's stuff in here that I can't pretend is all awful, like, the worst Disney live action remakes or anything. But, okay, let me get to the number one, just insulting problem with this movie. The editing is the worst I've ever seen in any of these Disney live action remakes. It was impressively awful. This feels like one of those Sony Spider-Man villain movies, like Madam Web or Craven. Like, the editing is like that. And yes, there is a ton of bad, awful ADR in this. And it is just astonishing that they are still doing this in a movie with this big a budget and with a IP that's this well known. I don't know how big a hit Lilo and Stitch was when it first came out. Maybe it did okay, but it's really grown over the years. And people, again, you look at all the Stitch merchandise everywhere. They're doing a live action remake because it is so popular. So wouldn't you put more care into this? Wouldn't you put more of an understanding about what made this film special? Disney is just continuing to not see what made their animated films loved. And I think it really shows here in the editing because it's clear a film was shot and probably edited, originally. This is from the director who did Marcel, the shell with two shoes, or the shell who wears shoes, something like that. It was a short that blew up, and then it became a movie. Both are very charming. Both are very unique, and they take their time with both the comedy and the emotion. They're very, very slow moving, and both films, the short and the longer one, know the importance of letting a scene just play and having it feel real. And Disney wants nothing to do with that. I would be amazed if this was the original film this director turned in. I mean, I would be astonished. It's possible, people change sometimes and everything, and sometimes their style, can definitely be altered, but this just has Disney's corporate fingerprints, their stamp all over it, their stamp of bad quality, because there are so many moments where an emotional scene is supposed to be happening, and either the emotional line is said by somebody off screen through bad ADR, or they're said turning this way while you don't see them talk. Yeah, I wonder why that is, because it got chopped down to a million pieces, and instead of letting a scene play like the original did, where it really did take its time and it let you sit with the emotions and you really saw what these characters were going through because it respected your intelligence. Even though it's a film for family, it's a film that kids can see and adults can see and both can enjoy it, this is supposed to be the live action one, the more realistic one, and it just insults everybody's intelligence by chopping it down so much and not letting a scene really allow the emotions to take over. And that is just so disrespectful, in my opinion. So that is what got me the most angry at this film, because it was reaching a point where I just stopped paying attention to whatever emotion it was trying to have me feel, and I just started counting down how many seconds there was in an average shot before an edit. So there's a scene, without giving away too many, again, spoilers, it's from the original, but just in case, I won't give it away. There's a scene where they're on a hammock and they're singing a song. Now, if you've seen the original film, you know what an emotional moment that is. And it's a very, very well done moment. And it just holds on the shot there. And, sometimes there'll be an edit. It'll be done very slowly. Again, it's an emotional scene. It's very, very, delicate and very precise about how it's going to be presented to you. And instead, they have an edit every 3 seconds. I started counting. 1 locomotive, 2 locomotive, 3 locomotive, 1 locomotive, 2 locomotive, 3 locomotive, 1 locomotive. There was always an edit, and you cannot feel emotion that way. And why am I telling you this? You are people in Hollywood. You are Disney. You're supposed to be the masters of emotion. You got us in our childhoods. You should know this. I'm sorry. So maybe I'm more angry at this movie than I thought. Because again, I really did like the way the sisters were handled in the original. I just thought that was so good because, again, they felt real. Even though it was animated, it was a cartoon and everything, it just felt real. And it's so fascinating / kind of disgusting. These Disney live action remakes are coming in pretty much saying, we're the new version, we're the version for adults, we're the real version, literally the real live action version, even though half the aliens, all the aliens are animated. You could have easily done like puppets or animatronics or anything like that, but no, you gotta make them these ugly looking CG penis faces. So when you have this version come out, just insultingly saying, no, we fixed whatever issues there were with the original. Now, it's much more insulting with the fairy tales, because, again, I've gone on about this, about emotional storytelling and how they don't understand that. But with a film like this, where this should have pretty much been handed to you on a silver platter, they just had to go in and chop up everything that was having even a hint of emotion in there. And yeah, they're calling me to say they agree, yes. And to me, I just felt like it completely missed the mark about what made the film so special and the technique that went into making the film so special. So even the backgrounds in the original are watercolor. And I if you want to see more detail on this, I've done Nostalgia Critic on it, where yes, I make jokes and everything, but I'm definitely more straightforward about it. I talk about the strengths of it. Now, obviously in live action, you're not going to be able to do that, but you're going to, Hawaii. I mean, I've been to Hawaii several times. Several of the islands, it's just a gorgeous place. This should be so easy to just make this beautiful, wonderful looking film. And instead, it is chopped up so much. I can't even remember. I think I remember one shot of a landscape in this, and that's it. There's one scene where after they have, I guess, the big emotional moment where Lilo and her sister are talking about, just what it means to be sisters and have their parents gone and stuff like that. Or no, it's after they yell at each other. That's it. With really annoying music played throughout the whole thing. Because again, we can't have silence. We can't have an actual emotional moment. We can't have you get invested. We just need something to babysit what they think are your idiot kids, because they clearly don't respect their intelligence either. It just cuts to like a shot of like, I think people on a beach or something, or no, people on a boat. It has nothing to do with anything. And then like some sandals on the beach or something, like just a close up of something random. And then it cuts to night. And night is where the rest of the scene is supposed to take place. You're going to see the ship crash and everything. And I thought to myself, did they just cut to two random shots that have nothing to do with anything? It doesn't even establish anything. Is this movie really edited that poorly? And it is. Insultingly so. So, again, I guess it gets me angry because I feel like maybe this film could have worked. There's other issues with it, but maybe it could have worked. We could have finally had a Disney live action remake that, would at the very least be passable, at the very least be okay. But instead, the editing almost single-handedly just completely rips it apart. And it's such a shame because this is not... Editing is, yes, a very, very... a difficult thing to do, and you have to go back, you have to do several re-edits and everything, but people say that is where the movie is made, that's where it comes together, and they're right. So for them to go in, see this as a finished product, and be like, I think this is good, I think this is releasable, I think we captured the spirit of the original and the emotion of the original, I mean, it's just so insulting. So on that level, I really, really don't like it, but again, if I have to be objective about it, take the original out of it, which is hard, but let's just judge it on what it is. There is good acting. There are some scenes that make me laugh, certainly in it. More than just once or twice. I mean, there's a good handful of moments where I laughed, but never one where I was like laughing so hard I was, trying to hold back my laughter or anything like that. But just little deliveries from the actors or funny facial expressions, whenever it felt like a scene was just somehow believably awkward, that was always fun. But yeah, whenever they make a change, it didn't usually make sense. So okay, like here's another change. They have a neighbor in this, played very well by Amy Hill. She's usually really, really good. And in the scene where they adopt Stitch as the dog, she's the one that takes Lilo there. She's like, oh, I'll look after her today while you go look for a job. And she's clearly a big part of, these sisters' lives because she, slips in this pamphlet or something through some really bad exposition, saying, oh, hey, here's that school for that marine biology college that it was your life's dream to go to. How'd that get in there? Maybe you should go, but I can look after Lilo or something like that. And she's like, no, I'll look after Lilo. And just as I'm watching this movie and they're saying so much about what has to happen to them, I'm thinking to myself, why doesn't the neighbor just watch her more? She's right there. She's right next door. And it's getting to a point where I just wasn't following why we're in the original. Again, they set it up where, the parents were lost recently or recent enough where they haven't had really a chance to, kind of make friends with other people because they're still getting their own lives going. And maybe she even did have friends, but then found she has to suddenly look after, her little sister, which, anyone that has kids know that chops off a good chunk of your life. But you literally have a neighbor who's right there, and she's trying to get a job, and she brings Lilo with her everywhere, and Lilo and Stitch keep ruining the job, the abilities to get the job because they keep acting up. And I'm just thinking, just give her to the neighbor. And again, there's so many moments where they're like, well, we have to be the practical one. We can't have anything that doesn't logically make sense. And again, when you just get yourself so boggled down with that, even in a film that's supposed to take place in modern day, it isn't a fairy tale, you just lose the point of it. When it gets you in that mindset, you start to ask more questions. You start to question why something isn't more realistic. And then if I'm correct, I think they reveal that her son is David, the boyfriend in this, or the would-be boyfriend. And I didn't know that until the very end. And I'm like, where did that come about? Was that said? And David's not in it much. I guess he's not in the original much either. But when he is, the dialogue's not very good. It's very, I'm just saying the wrong things when I'm around her. Oh, derpy derp. And it's painful and forced and not very funny. And again, for the little bit of time that he had in the original, I remember his scenes. I remember, the lines he has and everything. And, they're done well. It's not spectacular, but, it's done well. Where I just feel like this guy, for the lines they wrote him, again, you can't really blame the acting, but I mean, they just do not make him memorable in the least. To a point where, like I said, I didn't even put together, I think he's supposed to be I don't even know if he lives there with the lady who may or may not be his mother. So there's so many scenes like that where suddenly, I think there's a scene where they're at the adoption agency, or no, the pound, I think, long story short, she has to get Stitch back from there. And then like 2 shots and her saying a bad ADR line, like, we got to get back to the house. And the camera shakes, or we get 2 shots and they're just back at the house. I'm like, did I miss something? Where was them going back? I know it doesn't sound like much, but that's just kind of how the movie works. So many things happen in front of you so quickly and are not edited in a way where anything that happens you're supposed to take in. It's just sort of stuff that's happening. You don't process it. And if it was like a quirky comedy or a fast action film or something like what Spider-Verse is doing or something, then it'd be acceptable. And even Spider-Verse would vary their shots a lot of the time. And that's just not something they're doing here. It's just that same pattern of having an edit every 3 seconds. And it's not everywhere in the movie, but it's easily the majority of it. So yeah, there's a lot of things that just do not click with me. I can't say it's awful. It's awful editing. That is the one thing. I mean, I will give it the award for worst editing in any of these live action Disney remakes, and that's impressive. But yeah, so I will definitely give that to it. But again, if I'm being really objective about it, the acting is good. The kid's very likable, and she plays her part well. Stitch is still likable. The actors playing the aliens trying to hunt him down, have some good one-liners. But again, when I think back to this film, I mean, the first thing that's going to pop in my head is not feeling emotion for the emotional scenes, or just wondering what happened to the emotional lines through a lot of these. A good example, if you've seen the original, there's a really good scene early on where the sisters, they have a big fight, and then they're trying to patch things up. And they come in, they have just it sounds like a real talk, a real conversation. And it's funny because it's exposition. And they're saying what happened to the parents. They're talking about the relationship. They bring up, Hana. It's the first time I think they bring it up there. Or at the very, even if they don't bring it up, that's certainly the first time they, act it out, very much demonstrate what that is. And there's a line where I think, they're talking about where they are. I mean, Lilo says something like, we're broken, aren't we? And the sister says, no. And she's like, well, maybe a little, And she says, I like you better as a sister than I do a mother. And it's just it's a very harsh reality. It's a very real thing that you can kind of feel like a kid would say, and it would be built up to. Where in this, and again, they have more emotional moments after that. And it's just so well done, so wonderfully well done. And in this, she goes upstairs. They barely talk. They just have like a little back and forth. They're just kind of being silly. Oh, she tickles her or something like that. And at some point she says like, it's time to go to bed. And she says, I like you better as a sister than a mother. And they laugh. And it's just, how can you... They're assuming people have seen the original or are going to see this because, again, they're not explaining like what happened to the parents. They're just gone. So they're assuming you've seen the original, like most of the live action remakes are. So why would you take that line that was clearly so meaningful and so emotional and just turn it into a silly, joke, a silly wah-wah moment? Oh, isn't that cute? When, of course, you're going to think back to what a really powerhouse moment that was before. And there's so many moments like that where you recognize the emotion from the previous film, but you hear the line from the previous film, but they're not capturing that same emotion. They're not using the same care and technique. And again, it is so fascinating that an animated film that, yes, more and more people are opening up is not just kid stuff. I mean, there's a lot of adult animated shows out there, and more people having respect for it. But I just feel like I always heard over and over, well, Hollywood doesn't really respect animation, not as a grown-up medium, certainly. And I was always like, well, no, come on. They're clearly putting a lot of work into it. And I feel like animators, the people that make these films and these shows, respect it and see that and understand it, but the studios don't, because in these live action remakes they're just like, oh well, that was said in the original, just do it here somewhere, and they don't think about the same technique and care that's put into it, and that it did take a lot of time to build up to that, and there was a lot of reworking. It isn't like in a live action film where you can get the actors back, which is also tricky, don't get me wrong, or badly ADR stuff, and reshoot everything. You have to draw everything again, which just takes much longer. So yeah, it's one of those things where I definitely see them saying these lines, and I think in their heads they're capturing the same emotion as before because they're just saying the lines, but they are not putting the same amount of care that these films that they see as kid stuff did in this film that I'm sure in their heads they're seeing as more adult. And you're really missing something there. And I really think Disney is... There's sometimes where they are getting back on track with stuff like Inside Out 2, but then there's things like this where you just go, when are you going to get a new team in here? When are you going to really, really buckle down and say, what are we doing wrong? What are we missing with it? Why would I watch this and say I am emotionally invested? Because I don't know if half the people who edited this or produced it or whatever would. So, yeah, again... Honestly, I'm probably making this sound worse than it is. As the live-action movies go, I can't say it's one of the better ones, but I can't say it's one of the worst ones either. There are good things in it. I think I get frustrated because I see the movie. It could have been. It's kind of like the reason I was so mad at the Mulan remake, because I'm like, I could see this working. I could see this being something, but they just fall victim to so many problems they don't have to fall victim to, and it's so fascinating to me. So, yeah, I think they gotta get out of this mindset that they have to keep chopping something up and probably just let a lot of these filmmakers, at least for the live action stuff, it feels like they still, to some extent, let them do it for animation. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but just let them tell the story they want to tell. Or if something's not working, just make a few changes. Don't chop it up to where it's almost unrecognizable, and just stop putting in so much ADR, because we can tell. I think that's the thing too. They're just assuming that audiences can't tell, and maybe in the early days they could. Again, people used to like these live action remakes, but now they're sick of them, and they're a joke now. They're a punchline. I think it's because of decisions like this. So I think maybe that's what I'm reacting to. I'm reacting to what this movie could have been, and I'm reacting to almost a brand new problem, because the editing of the other live action remakes wasn't great, but it was fine. This is really the first time where it was distractingly awful, and I just hate the idea of, like, I don't know what's worse, having the same problems as before or finding new problems, but from other but like problems you see in other films, like I said, the Sony Spider-Man villain movies, like, Kraven, Madam Web, all those. So, yeah, sadly didn't care for it, but like I said, I hope some of these people go on to other stuff. I think the actresses who played the sisters are good. I've seen this guy, direct, like I said, the Shell with Shoes On movie, which was delightful. I like to see him do something that's not this. I like to see him, get with a studio that's going to be like, okay, make the film you want kind of thing. We'll only, snip a couple things, but we'll mostly let you have creative control. Or like I said, I could be wrong. Maybe he did make these choices, but man, it just does not seem like it based off of the movies I've seen before. So with that said, what are your thoughts? Do you think I'm completely wrong on this? And do you think this is great. This is the first really good Disney live action remake. They should do more modern films, and the acting was great, and the pacing was great, and the tone and everything? Or do you think it was even worse than I was talking about? Do you think they have to stop with these live action remakes and they should really focus on getting good quality stuff out there if they're going to do these live action remakes? Understand what made them work in the first place, the original animated films? Or are you somewhere in between where you're like, you know what? I like the acting enough. I like little cute CG Stitch there, and it was okay for, an hour and a half or so. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you next time. Take care.